So to get started, this is a Highland Tactical backpack. There's nothing overly fancy about this bag. I'll be honest with you, the only reason that I chose this over any of the other bags that I have was I was able to get it on sale. Typically this bag retails from anywhere from $85 to $95 depending on the website that you purchase it from. I was able to get it at a very good discount of $35. And the reason I went with this bag as far as some of the other ones that they had was it's a decent size that I can hold 99% of what I think I would need on a daily basis, but it's not too big that I felt like if I had to carry it, it would be very cumbersome. It conforms nicely to the shape of my back and doesn't stick out too much to the sides or the depth. That way it's not getting caught on things if I ever did have to leave my vehicle with it. It comes with multiple pouches, just like any backpack would. It has a pretty thin one in the front where you could put maps or paperwork. It's a pretty thin one. It comes with a Velcro section here for you could label the bag or put your name on it. It has a secondary larger pouch here. Has a spot for pens, pencils, knives, flashlights, whatever you may need to tuck into a smaller pouch, and it gets pretty deep. Finally, we have the main pouch, which is the largest pouch on the whole backpack. This flips all the way forward. You can see how much space there is in there. And then it also has a spot for a water bladder, along with having a hole at the bottom to drain in case water ever did enter the backpack, that it wouldn't sit in there. Along with the main pouch, there's also two side pouches here and here. But as far as the bag, I didn't, specifically pick this bag over any other ones for any of the features that it has. It's pretty standard. So onto what I carry in the bag. On the right-hand pouch, the smaller one of the side pouches, the first thing that I carry is this Ozark Trail metal water bottle. The reason I went with metal is because if I ever did have to boil water in an emergency situation, I could, because this one's metal and I don't have to worry about it melting like a plastic one would. I would hope that I would never be in a situation where I would have to boil water, but I figured this is the best case scenario. I have something that I'm able to boil water, so that's what I keep in the right pocket. Moving on to the left-hand side pocket, this is just a couple more very basic survival things that if I ever had to survive a night in my truck or on the side of the road, I feel like these are things that would be very helpful. So starting off, I have an emergency blanket. This is nice for if you ever got stuck in, say, like a snowstorm, and you just needed to ride it out for the night while they plowed the roads, or even if it was just a couple hours, I feel like that would be very beneficial. I have a lighter. This is just a standard Bic lighter, nothing fancy about it. Again, if you ever needed to start a fire, if you had to exit your vehicle and you had to start a fire for some reason, like a striker rod or a ferrule stick, whatever you want to call them, they are very reliable, but if you can have a lighter, why not have one? I have some zip ties. This is great to have in your vehicle regardless. If you ever had to make a makeshift shelter, zip ties are super beneficial to have. And then I also have some paracord. Orange is just what they had at the store. I don't know if orange would necessarily be the best color if you're trying to keep a low profile, but that's what they had at the time, so I have 50 feet. I felt like I didn't need more than 50 feet, as this is just a bag to help me survive long enough that I can get home where I have the rest of my supplies. So moving into the second most forward pouch on the bag, I have a couple just basic tools. This is a cheap SOG, just folding pocket knife. This is just a straight blade, no serration on it, just for cutting the paracord, things like that, making minor repairs. I have an Olight flashlight. And again, I'm just saying these brands just so you can see basically what I have if you were interested in buying the same thing. I don't have a brand deal with any of these companies, they're just what I use and what I like. But this Olight runs off a AAA and is very bright. It's an LED, so the battery lasts a long time. Not a bad flashlight. I have your basic mechanics gloves. The reason I wanted to have a pair of gloves in there is if you are collecting firewood or something like that, or there's a ton of reasons why you would want to have gloves. I got a little bit tougher ones with the leather on there, so I didn't cut my fingers and stuff like that. Just nice to be able to protect your hands if you ever have to do anything outside of the vehicle. And then I have your just very basic pen and note card to write down information, directions, phone numbers, anything, something like that. If you knew your phone was going to die, you could write down phone numbers or, directions to go somewhere. You could write down like landmarks to get back to your vehicle, things like that. Another thing that I have in this pouch that I'm obviously not going to show for informational reasons is I already have all of my important phone numbers / contacts written down on a note card that I keep in my backpack in case my phone ever died, that I would be able to quickly get those phone numbers if I had to borrow a phone from someone else and make a phone call. Another thing that I have here is this is a battery pack, like a backup battery pack. I keep that in there with a small charging cable just to charge my phone in an emergency situation. Let's say if my vehicle ran out of gas and then I used up the battery, I could still charge my phone as well, which I think is very important. If you don't have to go without your phone, I think you should make every attempt to keep your phone going. In that same pouch farther in, I also have a little bit of food and a rain poncho. For the rain poncho, I didn't go with one of the cheaper, real thin ones. This is a thicker one that's actually almost like a coat. And the reason I went with that is if you got in a situation where you were trapped out in the rain for a long time, and let's say you had to change a tire or work on your vehicle, the thin ones get caught on stuff and they rip very, very easily. And not that this is going to be, something that I think I'm going to be able to use multiple times, but I just wanted to get something a little bit thicker that I felt like if it got caught on something, it wouldn't rip the whole thing in half. So I have my poncho, and then I also have a little bit of food. I went with Cliff Bars just because these are peanut butter ones. They're packed with calories, and they have a pretty long shelf life. They typically last about 6 months. And then I also have some just cheap beef jerky, and this has a shelf life of about a year. The temperature doesn't really affect it that much. So I wanted stuff that was going to be shelf stable, that it could sit in a vehicle and the temperature wouldn't affect it too much. And it also had a long shelf life because I'm hoping that I won't actually have to eat this stuff. That an emergency will never actually happen. Okay, and then in a gigantic Ziploc bag, just to keep everything organized, I also have all of my toiletries and just daily things that will make your life a little bit more enjoyable, even in a situation that may not be ideal. So starting on the left-hand side, I have some antibacterial wet wipes. These are nice to just keep your hands clean. You can also kind of use them to wipe down your body. If you didn't, if you're out stuck on the side of the road or something and you can't take a shower, these are big for morale, just being able to keep your hands clean. I have a toothbrush, again, just kind of another little morale booster. If you're having to deal with, some type of services, you kind of want to keep yourself fresh, big for morale. Over to the right, I have a bunch of, I have gauze pads, I have different bandages. I have a little pack of just, cheap Band-Aids as well. I kind of made my own pack just because I feel like I got to pick the Band-Aids that were in here, so I went a little bit higher quality than these just real cheap ones. And I also got to pick which ones specifically were in there because I feel like sometimes they put stuff in here that you'll never use, like these these super tiny Band-Aids. For something that small, I would probably not even bother. I have some tissues, which are nice if you're sick while you're out, just something to kind of help yourself out. I have toilet paper, which I hope I never have to use on the side of the road, but why not have it just in case? I have some sunscreen, which is nice for if it's super hot where you are and you can't get into any type of shade. I also have some contact solution for if you wear contacts, which is really nice. I also have extra contacts and a contacts case in my bag. I'm just restocking right now, so they're not here. I have a little bit of spray deodorant, which again, just a morale booster, which is super important in a situation where you're uncomfortable. The more comfortable you can try and make yourself feel, the better you'll be off. I have a little bit of hand sanitizer if you have to use the bathroom, clean your hands. I have lens cleaner because I occasionally wear glasses. Again, your eyes, being able to see is important in situations like this. I have some extra strength Tylenol for basic headaches, stuff like that, back pain, muscle pain. If you end up having to leave your vehicle and, hike out, you may not be used to that much of a strain on your body, so there's some Tylenol to help with that. I have Tums. Anyone who's ever been in a situation where your stomach hurts, where you're not near a bathroom, is awful, so hopefully that would help with my stomach. I have a little bit of Benadryl in case I came in contact with something that I was allergic to. Hopefully this would get me to a spot where I could get medical attention after that. And then I also just have a little bit of medical tape for the bigger gauze pads. And again, some of this stuff people may look at and say, oh my gosh, this is too much. You would never need to carry all this. And that's, personal opinion. I just wanted to show some of the things that I have that I think would be nice to keep yourself comfortable in a situation where you're typically going to be uncomfortable. So on to my next pouch where I have all of my clothing. So on to the main and largest portion of my bag. I have my clothing, which I just have a pair of long socks for if I'm wearing boots, 2 pairs of standard socks. If your feet get wet, it's really important that you can, change your socks, keep your feet dry, and then just another pair of boxers. Getting into another full set of clothes, I have just your standard t-shirt. I have a thermal long sleeve t-shirt for if it's colder. I have a set of thicker, kind of like work pants, and I went with pants because they're going to better protect your legs if you had to walk through the woods. Shorts are nice if it's hot out, but pants will always protect your legs from the sun, from bugs, and from leaves, sticker bushes, things like that. I have a standard, just cheap beanie hat to keep myself warm. I'm starting to get into the fall season, so I figured a hat would be good. I have a set of a little bit warmer gloves on top of the work gloves that I have. These are just cheap, very cheap standard gloves, but they're pretty warm. They also have the ability to use a touchscreen with them. I have a face covering in case we ever get back to the days where we have to wear a face covering indoors, that I wanted to be able to go into a rest stop or something to get help. And I just wanted to have one of these just in case. It'll also keep your face warm if you were in an environment where it was cold. And then I have kind of like a Columbia fleece jacket, and this is not a super thick like winter jacket, but it's something that'll work really nice for me in fall. And then as it gets colder into the actual winter months, then I would switch it out for a thicker winter jacket. Again, this is just kind of made to show people what you can do with a very minimal amount of things. I built this whole bag for right around $200 if you exclude the clothing that I already had, and some of the other small things. But the whole point of this is just to kind of show what you can do with a limited amount of money. It doesn't have to be super expensive, and I just wanted to kind of show you guys what I have in my bag. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you have some constructive criticism, or if you want to say what type of bag you use, what you put in your bag, some of the things that you do differently, I'd love to hear it. Just drop them down below. Don't forget to check out some of my other videos that I posted on the channel lately, and I'm going to be posting pretty regularly. Thank you so much. Have a great day.